All right, welcome to the FIREchat podcast. I'm your host, Rich Rice, and with me today I have Rafa Salazar joining us, a long-time IEREIC member. Say hi.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, hi. I've been at it for about a year and a half now, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rafa, I know he was on, he was kind of on the show before. We did, when I was doing all these pilot recordings and testing out equipment and whatnot, me and Rafa did one. But it was pretty short, so wanted to bring him back on here and get a good real episode going. So I meant to tell you this ahead of time, but if you feel like Rich, I already told you that. I'm probably going to ask you again anyways if we talked about it in the past. So
yeah, no worries.
So let me so obviously our topic is financial independence through real estate. It's trying to get a little bit more like personal side of the whole thing. There's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about different real estate related topics, but trying to get to know the people a little bit more, get to know our members a little bit more. So why don't we start off with how'd you find the club originally?
Ooh, boy. All right. Well, I kind of found the club by luck, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I had gone to a real estate kind of one of those hotel meetings where, they try to sell you on everything. And one of the things that stuck out to me was, find those organizations in your area, those what do they call them? The IEREICs, the real estate organizations. And so I did a Google search and came across the, Inland Empire Real Estate Investors Club. And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? Logged in, saw that you guys were going to have an event. And this was like November, December-ish. I think it was a holiday party or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think your mom was, I think she was cooking that day, or...
My mom was cooking?
Maybe not cooking. I don't remember, but they're burritos.
My mom's a lot of things. She's not much of a... She doesn't cook much.
I don't remember who it was, but there was definitely breakfast burritos. I remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I came in. I was surprised by just how friendly everybody was. Just like, hey, yeah, you're new here. What are you trying to do? What's going on? Yeah, have you tried doing this? Have you tried checking that? You should learn a little bit more about this and that, and really, hone in on your craft. And after that, I was just kind of sold. Like, yep, I like it. And
yeah, hell yeah. That wasn't this December, was it?
No. It was a year and a half.
So you've been around longer than like 7 months.
Yeah, no, it was a year and a half ago. So
okay, yeah. So you would have, that was pretty much right when we were coming out of COVID. So
yeah.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes and stuff in the club, especially since then. Oh no,
this organization has changed tremendously in that time. We were just talking about the old office as being as small as it was. So what we have today is just huge changes, huge improvements all around.
Right on, man. So yeah, you've seen a lot, done a lot so far. What brought you into like real estate originally, or got the gears turning?
Boy, there was a lot going on, and I couldn't tell you where the story begins exactly. I was going through some challenges in my personal life. As it pertains to COVID, of course, I did lose a number of family members, but I was having some troubles at home. Wound up selling my home. I went through a separation. I was in a very difficult place in my life, and I did some introspection and really trying to figure out like if my life is going to change, I need to take ownership of it. I need to figure out and make the changes that I want to make for myself. And so as I was kind of pondering and trying to figure out what makes sense for me, I kind of just try to figure out what do I know, what are my skills, what do I want to do with myself, trying to put it all together. I had been working with my brother-in-law. I hesitate to call him a contractor, but he's been he's been doing.
What does he call himself?
A very handy man.
Oh, all right.
I've seen him single-handedly lift a garage for new footing and a new foundation and everything. So like he's done it since he was 12. He's in his mid-50s now. It's all he knows how to do, and he would take me to work when I was, a teenager, 15, 16 years old. And so he'd teach me a thing or two, like, when you're framing, make sure you keep an eye on this, studs have to be this far apart and blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. So throughout the years, I kind of honed in and learned and was able to at least identify what good looks like. I may not know how to do everything, but I know what good should look like. Yeah. I know kind of what to look for. So I've been comfortable around houses and around construction, construction work for a while. And then prior to that, I knew, I had been in the automotive industry. I was a buyer. So I went to auctions. I made, I did appraisals. I researched market trends. I worked with a lot of numbers. And so as I was kind of trying to figure out, and I was learning and, trying to get everything into place and still, managing all the things that I was managing in my life, I had some friends. They are real estate investors. They live out in Hawaii. At the time they were out here, they were visiting, and I was kind of telling them a little bit about what was going on. And they said, dude, like, you should go into real estate. You should be a real estate investor. Like, really? So yeah, man. I mean, you have these skills. You know how to do this. You know how to look at the numbers. Like, it seems natural, frankly. I mean, it sounds like you'd be great at it. And so, they talked me into it. They invited me, back home. They said, yeah, come down, chill out, relax, and just really consider it. So in those days, I went out there. I came back. I became ill, and so I had to take some time off from work. And in that time frame is where I said, you know what, this is it. It's now or never. And so that's kind of when I started making those changes, started reading. That's when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate. And it's one of those books that just kind of like, wow, like you start...
a gateway drug.
Yeah, right. You start seeing things that you never realized were always there. You never realize, what an asset is. You never really understand how you put money to work. You just so many things just started to make sense after that. And so I started going to more meetings, and, I discovered the IEREIC. Started learning more. I took Andy's class, and just from there, it's like, wow, all right. And so this has been, for me, real estate, it's been about a 1.5 year journey.
Yeah.
And so, at times it gets frustrating. It does get frustrating because I'm like, man, I'm not where I want to be. But I look back and I think like, oh man, I've done a fix and flip. I've done some RV trailers that I've bought and sold. I've created notes. I've sold notes. I've made loans. Like, wait a minute. Like, I am improving. I am learning. I am getting the hang of this.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to kind of lose track of that sometimes.
Yeah. We just went to lunch and you started kind of talking about that a little bit.
All right.
It's where, I mean, do you have a, because you were like, yeah, I'm not really where I want to be, but I know I'm further ahead than I was, which is a fantastic, mindset,
right.
Obviously. But do you have that number, that goal, or like, what's that look like? Like, where do you want to be? I guess is a better question.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I'm again, and for most, it's that financial independence. But for me, I've in the last couple of years, I've been, my sisters, as I was going through everything, and they really brought me in. They really brought me back home and said, hey, man, like, we see that you need help. We'll help you out. Do what you need to do because we know you're going to be successful. Mm-hmm. We know that you can be. We know that you will be. And so my goal is to eventually, be able to get back up on my feet, have my own home again, and be able to pay it forward and help them into real estate. My one of my sisters, she does do real estate. She does property management, with mobile home parks and things like that. But I would really love to be able to just pay it back and keep moving forward, have my own place for my kids, and just get back on my feet. And right now, I'm not on my butt anymore, but I'm not completely back where I feel like I'm done. Yeah. And that feeling, I guess I know it's more internalized than a solid number. Like, oh man, well, I want to make 6 figures a year. I don't think I need to make 6 figures a year to say that I'm successful. I just want to be able to say like, yeah, I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. Yeah,
and I would say it depends on. I would maybe challenge you, Rafa, to define those goals a little bit more. Like, find what that number is, because not that it's not a good goal to have, right, to want your own place and and all that, but like that's very different. That could mean a 1-bedroom apartment that costs $1,500 a month, versus you want your own house with X, Y, and Z, and that costs $4,000 a month, or you need a certain down payment to get that, or whatever. Not that the goal's not good to have, but maybe just define it a little bit more, and maybe that will direct a little bit more on where you spend time. I mean, that's just a very overall, like what you said. But because I forgot to do my chord here. Because I'm just a big believer in defining it. defining
Right.
like what that goal is so that you can put up on the wall. That's the goal. Like, and that it's defined, it's attainable, and you know, like what it is you're getting to. So like when you're sitting here, you know, at lunch and you're like, yeah, I'm frustrated, you know, but you have that goal. Let's say that goal is 4,000.
Okay.
And it was on the wall. And maybe you're not to that goal of having your own place yet, but you're pretty damn close. Let's say it's you're at 3,800 a month or whatever that you're bringing in passively or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, yeah, but I'm right there, you know, versus like, well, I still don't have my own place,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So-
And I wish I could spit out a number right now.
Yeah.
I don't have one to give you right now.
No, of course. But like, you know, look at everything and see if you can come up with that.
Absolutely.
Because that I think when we talk about financial independence and, you know, if you go to some of these seminars too with these gurus, I mean, they'll start off, you know, in non-gurus even, or like if you're looking at financial independence, even on stuff that doesn't involve real estate,
Right.
you know, they usually have that, as they call it, like your fire number, like what you need to be at
Yeah.
to be financially independent, like to hit that goal, you know. And yeah, for 48 years, you might be like, oh, I'm not there yet, but like you're really right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a different mindset, you know, or like a
Yeah.
direction there. So, I gotta pull your microphone down for a second. It's like right in your face. So, but yeah, man. I mean, you've. Let's talk about some of the stuff you have done. You said you put some notes together. What was the last one you did?
Well, the last one I did was for an RV trailer, and I'm not even considering like the IRA loans and things like that. I had an RV trailer. I mean, I picked this thing up for like $1,500. It's funny because I had two trailers, but the one that I did, this one worried me because man, it was just it needed a lot of work. Picked it up for $1,500, and right after I bought it, I'm like, man, why did I buy this thing? All right, well, let's get to it. And it's funny because one of those things before I even like started working on it, somebody said, "Oh, I want it. I'll give you $6 for it." Like, sold.
Yeah.
So take it. You know, I cleaned it up for the guy and you know made it livable. Of course, I wouldn't have sold it if it wasn't in livable condition. And so it was a small note. I mean, it was. You know, I bought it for $15,000. He gave me a $2,000 down payment, and I'm getting like $150 a month.
Yeah, which is fantastic. You created cash flow out of nothing.
Exactly. So that was one of those that like really made me go, oh, shoot, you know, I could do this, man.
Did you set out to do that when you bought the trailer?
Yes and no. It was shortly after I had taken Andy's course where I learned about, you know, creating notes and you know, buying them and selling them and things like that. And so I'm like, yeah, let's try it. Let's do this. And this gentleman wanted to make payments on it. So I said, all right, well, this works out perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I've you know, I've noticed myself, like, you know, from going to Andy's class, and I'm sure you do too, like you just and exchangers, you know, seeing all these things happen at exchangers, and dude, I'm on Craigslist and Facebook and stuff making offers all day. Like, I'll give you a 2,000 down and, you know, however many payments or whatever. I haven't gotten one yet. You know, but and try to turn it around into something like that. So you took a trailer, you bought it for $1,500 cash.
Yeah.
You sold it for $2,000 cash essentially.
Yeah.
With a note on the back of it, and you're getting $150 a month.
Yeah, 150. What is it?
That's sick. For how long?
It was short term. I think it was like 2 years.
Hey,
Just around 2 years. Yeah.
How much is that car payment?
Well, not quite $200, but
Yeah, but I mean a decent chunk of it.
It's like $300.
Yeah,
for that, so.
that's a good chunk. That's half the payment, pretty much.
Right.
You know, that's
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
That's cool. You know, and that's. I think you're so ahead of the curve on your financial like acumen.
Yeah.
You know, because of doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, people will be like, why would you do that? Or like, yeah, it makes sense. Like on the surface, you know, why wouldn't you just take like $4,000 up front, or you know, but I think you have like you see it, you know, and that's not the only one you've done, right?
Yeah. Well, I had that other trailer that I was planning on doing the same thing. You know, I was going to sell it for a little bit more initially. It's funny because I had sold it for I think 11 at one point, but the buyer, like, you know, he was coming in to sign and get the deal done with, and he just never showed up. All right, whatever. Kept getting other offers, and then I had another guy come in at 9, and same thing, like, oh yeah, he's approved, ready to go, and no. And then I just sold it yesterday, and I wound up getting cash for that one. So I wound up taking, I sold that one for 75 cash, and I said, oh well, that's fine. You know, I would have preferred to create the note, but you know, that's fine. You still made a couple grand on that thing, and so just keep moving on.
Yeah. So are you like doing this actively, like making offers on trailers all day, or what?
No, you know, I didn't initially set out to move into trailers. I mean, these are hitches. You know, this is my sister, again, I just mentioned, she manages RV trailers, RV trailer parks, and so she had mentioned that she had some openings, and she said, "Well, what do you think? You want to try it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so I did it, and I tried it out, and it has its ups and its downs, and it's not for me. I'd rather work on homes, and right now I've been focusing on mobile homes instead of the trailers.
Okay.
You know, I think the acquisition is a little bit different as versus, you know, an RV trailer and things like that. And the people it just wasn't for me.
Fair enough. But I still think it's super important what you're learning.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're doing something that I probably wouldn't. Which is funny because everyone's risk tolerance is different, right?
Right.
You know, for me, like, I'm doing something right now that people probably, I'm not going to go into details, but like where people are like, dude, you're nuts. But I'm willing to do it because I see it.
Right.
You know? But like, it makes me nervous with RVs, with trailers, you know, is that people are just going to go drive away and, you know, never make the payment again. And, but that doesn't seem to bother you all that much, you know?
Well, I think it does bother me a little bit. I'm a little bit more self-assured because my sister is there all the time. And so I have a little bit more of that kind of security in that she tells me, like, it hasn't happened. Like, I've seen these things burn down before I see people, you know, take off in them.
Do you like bolt them to the foundation, or
some, you know what, some people will, they'll stake them, they'll anchor them to the ground or whatever. And so, yeah, I suppose you could do that.
Mm-hmm. That'd make me feel better.
Right.
Yeah, but still, like, and what you're learning, dude, I think you step that up into mobile homes,
right?
You know, and then you step that up into eventually houses. If you read, I forgot his last name. I'll tell you, his name's Mitch, and I forgot his last name off the top of my head. He's got a book out there, and it's how I bought and sold 1,000 houses or whatever. I forgot the name of it. I'll have to look it up later. But that's all he does. He does literally what you're doing with trailers, but he does it with houses. And he buys the house,
right, and
then turns around and sells it to people. Gets all his money back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does it with real houses, not mobile homes, not trailers. You know, he does it with real houses. And I don't know why. Mitch Stevens.
All right.
And I don't know why I'm not doing it at the moment, to be honest with you. Like, there's so much still in California that you can do that with.
Yeah.
I know it's, you know, he does it mostly in like the Midwest and stuff like that, you know, $30,000-$40,000 houses. We don't have a ton of those laying around, at least ones that are not livable, or that are livable. You know, but we got, you know, there's a lot out there in, you know, cities that aren't that far from us.
Yeah.
From where we're sitting right now.
Yeah.
In Riverside. And I think there's something there. You know, Farah just told me, I forgot who she I've been on vacation for 16 days. My brain's taking a little bit longer to snap back into it. Right. My recall is like slacking. But she just told me about this guy last night that he buys like fixer houses, right, you know, and then turns around and sells those on a note to like a fixer upper, like as a fixer upper. He doesn't even flip them anymore. He just acquires them.
Yeah.
And then turns around and sells them on a note, like owner financing to people that wouldn't qualify, but like handy people, you know?
Yeah. I mean, shoot, it makes sense.
And then if they default on it, at least hopefully they fix it up a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So have you heard of that?
I haven't heard of that. I haven't heard of anyone doing it personally, but I mean, I can understand it, I guess. And I would see how it would make sense. I mean,
Yeah.
Heck, I know a contractor specifically that wants to get into investing, and he's always telling me, "Oh man, let me in, let me know. I want to do this." And like, well, sure, man. I mean, as soon as I find something that'll work for you, I invited him over to a project, and like, yeah, no, it's too far. Like, all right, well,
How bad does he want it?
yeah, exactly.
Was too far, like legitimately far, or was it?
Well, he's out in, he's in LA County. He's out in, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the city of Duarte. And the property was out in Hemet.
That's a trick.
Yeah, it's a bit, I mean, it's far from me. I'm here in Fontana. So,
Yeah. But hey, I mean, if you want to change your life or get into something, it's not that far,
yeah.
My first one was over an hour away. I mean, we do projects that are hour and a half.
I mean, my first fix and flip was out in Yucca Valley. I mean, that was like hour and some odd, I mean, hour 15, I think it was. And,
Yeah. Was that the mobile home?
No. This was stick built home.
The stick, okay.
Yeah. So this was my first fix and flip, going into it as an investor, with the investor mentality and everything. And again, I had the advantages that I was able to do most of the work with the help of my brother-in-law that was able to come in. So, we pulled all the permits where we needed to, and got the job done right. But that drive was just, it's something to consider. It's definitely something to consider. And I was not truly aware of that when I went into it. And it was a success. It was a huge success, but it was a success nonetheless. I didn't lose any money on it. I learned a lot about the process and different avenues that I can explore. And so that was the first deal that I used like a hard money lender on. And so I learned what that looks like and how much money you would need up front. And then from that deal, as I've kind of moved on into mobile homes, I learned a little bit more about like seller financing, and I've learned a little bit more about, personal cash, not hard money lenders, but what is it? Personal investors, right? That would come in, or bringing somebody in on a partnership or a JV venture or something like that. It's just, the more I'm around, the people in the organization, the more I am around the people in the industries, you learn there's just so many different ways to approach, a deal. It's not just, have the money for a down payment and go get a loan from a bank or a lender or something. No, there's so many other ways to do it. And that's phenomenal. Is one of the big reasons that I still come.
Yeah.
Keep coming to this.
I just talked to, Orlando this morning.
Right.
They're basically master leasing some 4,000 or 5,000 square foot property in Eastvale, and turn into like sober living.
Yeah,
and that sounds. I don't know if I'd. That doesn't sound as passive as what I'm looking for, but it's still like you can. But the numbers that he was throwing out, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, with Silver Living, like you're renting out the bed, right? You're not even renting out the home. You're renting out by the bed.
By the bed, and they're planning on getting, I think he said, $1,400 per bed. Well, that was for the bigger bed. Some of them were like 12, 11.
Yeah,
$1,400, and there's 16 beds in this house. So do the math. I was like,
there's
holy crap.
from what little I've learned of that particular aspect of real estate is. There's more to be made, but there's also a lot more accountability. You definitely have to hire a lot more people to come in and manage the operation.
It's a full on, it's a full on business. Like I said, it's a little bit less passive than I would like to. I dipped my toes in the short term rental for a little while, and I learned a lot. I wouldn't say that I wish I didn't, but because I have a really cool house that's, now long term rented, but and I just got to spend a ton of time with my parents and my family that helped me put it together, and probably learned more in 6 months than I did in years. But I like the passive.
I don't blame you, man.
I like that every once in a while I get a phone call about a toilet every 6 months, and other than that, I don't have to worry about it. But so like, I mean, obviously you flipped this, you've done a real flip, a full house. I know you've done a couple mobile homes now.
Well, the trailers, as far as mobile homes, I've been doing a lot of work with Elle. She's a member in the group as well, for those of you guys that don't know. And so we've been partnering up, and we've been knocking on doors and making offers on mobile homes. She purchased one not too long ago, and
Weren't you guys going in on one together for a little while there?
well, yeah. The initially that was the goal, that was the plan. We were working on two mobile homes at that time from the same seller, and one of the mobile homes just didn't work out. We were able to acquire the other one, and on that particular one, looking at the numbers, I took a step back and I told her, you know what, you take it. I think it doesn't really make sense for both of us to be in on this one, but if you'll allow me, I'll do some of the work. I'll help you out with what I can, and so that made much more sense than splitting the deal on that one.
Yeah. It's just the return was small or skinny.
Yeah, skinny for both of us. I think there's more for her in the way that we did it, and there was more for me the way that I did it. And and we're still working on it. And I came in, I did the roof, I did the bathrooms, a couple of other things here and there, and so we're still working together as far as like when we were running the finance. Even though she was the one getting the financing, I was there in that conversation, and I was there a part of the the Zoom meetings and talking to the neighbors, and
Cool.
Yeah, so
Was that the one? That was another club member that was selling it. Is that the one I'm thinking about?
Yeah.
Right on. So she's still in the middle of that.
Yeah, so she's still in the middle of it. It's up for sale, so you guys check it out on her Facebook account. I think she listed it in the IEREIC. I can't recall.
Is it the one in Apple Valley?
It is the one in Apple Valley. Yeah.
And what's that park again?
Oh, geez. Mobile.
We did a couple in that park. I forgot it.
The name escapes me
Like
right
I
now.
said, the steel trap isn't working right now.
Yeah. But
So right on.
One of the things with that one though, while we were working there, one of the neighbors came over to to welcome us into the neighborhood, and so we told him a little bit about who we are and what we do, and he says, "Oh man, well you know what? I got 2 other homes in a park right down the street. If you want to go check them out." So Al and I, we went over there and checked them out and made some offers, and we're still following up.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they want to sell them, but they're still kind of yes and no about it. So that kind of led us into 2 other deals, and those 2 deals kind of led us into. So
always talk to the neighbors.
Exactly. That was
Even for your rentals, it doesn't matter. I tell all my tenants too. I'm like, I'm friendly with all my neighbors. I talk to all my neighbors. I send my neighbors gifts at Christmas time. If you're doing something, I'm gonna know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Well, I had a rental house before I went into real estate as an investor.
Mm-hmm.
I had a rental house several years ago, and I had lived in that home prior to putting it out for rent. And I was friendly with all the neighbors, so my neighbors would come and they'd call me like, "Hey man, just so you know, they're growing things in the backyard."
Yeah.
Like, oh damn, all right, well,
Not tomatoes, huh?
yeah, no, not tomatoes. Like, oh geez, well, all right, no, I'll address it or whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody had advised me like, oh, well, what you should do is
Tell 'em to give you some.
hire an exterminator. Offer free service, part of the service, And so he'll come in and he'll be able to check things out and keep an eye on the property, even if it is once every 3 or 4 months. But
so it's long term hiring exterminator.
yeah, and well, it so happens that
So
a
you
buddy
don't
of
have
mine
to,
is an exterminator. So he hey, yeah, man, house is a little dirty, but it's fine. He doesn't look like he's messing it up much or anything like that. Okay, cool.
So I'm curious, why would, if you were, this is you said this was before you were the savvy investor you are now,
Right.
Why didn't you just knock on the door or just say, hey, I'm doing an inspection or
I had that option. I also had the manager.
Mm-hmm.
And so he'd go in, he'd do his inspections, and
you had a manager?
Yeah, I had
Gotcha.
I had a manager.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, so I'd let him know hey, dude, they're doing this or that. And all right, I'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So yeah, being friendly with the neighbors, one thing, and then having my buddy go in and spray and keep my house free of pests was nice. And he was also able to keep an eye out on things and keep me updated.
I'm gonna have to do that soon. One of my tenants texted me and was like, "Hey, I'm seeing ants, and they don't look like small ants. They look like the big ones that eat your wood." It's like, great. So, Yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with that soon. But anyways, so what like if you I mean obviously everybody loves getting rent checks in the mail. But like what as far as like the day-to-day, the more active stuff, like what don't sound all that thrilled with trailers. So like what do you want to do? Like what gets your gears turning?
Well, ideally, I'd love to do more fix and flips, but right now my focus has been on mobile homes, and I've really been going to the parks, talking to the managers, asking around, try to do that, buy homes. I mean, who doesn't like seller financing, right? But that's kind of where I've been focusing my time on a little bit more. From time to time, I'll come up on a property, on a house, on a stick built, and I'll go knock on that door or whatever, but it's not my primary focus. This summer, actually, I had my son, and he just turned 12 on Saturday. I had him interning for me. So, they well, what can I do with him? I don't really want to take him knocking on doors. I don't want him, going into... So, we did a lot of driving for dollars. But he was telling me, oh, Dad, hey, look, there's a red sign there. Like, what? Where? Like, yeah, right there. Don't you see it? Like, oh, yeah, on the window. Yeah, I think it's an eviction sign. Like, yeah, good point. Let's go knock on the door. Like, okay. Well, let's go knock on the door. And, yeah, nobody there. We run into the neighbor. Hey, how's it going? My name's Rafa. We're looking for a home. And give him the spiel. And so that 12-year-old boy pushed me harder than I realized that he would push me.
That's cool.
Like, I wasn't expecting it from him, but it was...
Come on, Dad, you got it.
Yeah, exactly, man. And then, I'd pull up the prop stream. All right, well... we're in San Bernardino, but the mailing address is in Rancho Cucamonga. I said, well, why don't we knock on that door? I'm like, well, all right, let's go knock on that door.
Oh, yeah.
So he'd move me around.
Cheerleader. Cool. Yeah. Cool. That's perfect. So, like, does he, I know you brought him to the club a couple times.
I did, yeah.
Does he listen in or just kind of like, hit or miss?
Yeah, no, hit or miss, because he comes in and he's like, I don't want to be here, but he knows why he's here. He's interning with me, and so it cracks me up because he came into the chat last week with Jim and Evan, and they as they were talking, my son just having a notepad over here doing tic-tac-toe, and then I see him start scribbling something like, "What are you writing down?" He says, "Oh, well, didn't you hear that, Dad?" Like, what? He says, "Yeah." He said, money and family don't mix. Like, yeah. Like, really? Why? I sat down with them and kind of went over, what they meant by money and family don't mix. And this particular conversation, it was relating to probate and, how probates can get kind of messy with family members and things like that. And so I kind of went down like, yeah, when it comes down to money and family, when you're lending money, you really don't even want to lend them money. You'll give it to them, but don't lend it, Like, it can get pretty messy, people fighting over money all the time, and it breaks up families and things like that. Like, oh, all right. And so he picks up those little nuggets, and he really, I mean, I'll tell you this, he's 12 years old. He just turned 12, but man, does he love the idea of charging interest on loans. Like, he's so into it. He loves it.
He's like, wait. Like, I give somebody, they give me more money back? All right.
Exactly. So he loves it. Like, oh, man, I could do this.
That's awesome. So, is he your only?
No, I have two. My daughter, she's 9 years old. She's
not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet, yeah. But they came because I brought both my kids for game night, and so we were playing cash flow. And dude, my daughter was so into it. Like, yeah, all right, well, rental, too bad, yeah, sure, Dad, let's buy it. Like, all right, let's.
Yeah, that's cool.
So she's getting some exposure, but for her, it's still like it's a daddy's business kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, I think kids pick up more than you think. Like it's their ears are always open.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of times like my parents didn't think I was listening, and I don't know. I heard everything. I think a lot of kids do. So they're just being around it.
Yeah.
Just being around it, and they don't even realize it until later in life. But they're like, oh.
Yeah, time will tell. Time will tell. I know. I heard him mumbling the other day, like, I can do this until I'm financially independent. Then I can do this. So maybe I can become a lawyer, so that then I can get better over here. As like,
nice. Yeah,
do
become
whatever
a
you
lawyer,
want.
make lots of money, buy lots of houses.
Exactly.
You know, but definitely, if you can be a high income earner and not let the lifestyle creep get up to you, you know, and just buy houses.
Oh yeah, no, it was the first time I heard him say something along the lines like, I want to be a real estate investor lawyer. Like,
Hey,
all
we need
right.
them. We need them. There's, I apparently we're having like a lawyer shortage. So
I was not aware of that.
yeah, a lot of those professions, you know, the ones that are like absolute slog grinding, crazy, you know, grind to get into, you know, it's almost you have to pick up like a crack habit to get through, you know, they're hurting right now, you know,
Yeah.
nurses, doctors, you know, lawyers. I read something, I don't know if this is true or not. I think it was on Reddit or something. It was the guy who wrote like the whole program on how to become a doctor, or like had a coke habit. So like this insane program that they're putting doctors through or whatever. Like the guy who wrote it, like he was only able to do it because he was
on coke.
you know, yeah. And so like, you know, it's kind of like a, you know, it was some discussion around like why, you know, why don't doctors and nurses have like a cutoff, like why,
Yeah.
you know, like a hazard pay like cutoff kind
Yeah.
of thing, like, you know, like no, you're pilots, you know, no, they work a certain amount of hours and that's it, they're done, they're not allowed to fly
Right.
anymore. You know, why isn't the guy who's operating on your, you know, something like
Why
should have something to the same thing? And,
Yeah, why is he working 48 hours on like 20 minutes of sleep here, guys? Come on.
yeah. But you know, one of my brother's good friends is an attorney, and you know, I mean, geez, I think I feel like he just became an attorney. Like, you know, we're in our 30s, and he just became an attorney like not too long ago. Like, it doesn't feel like all that long
yeah.
ago. Like, I mean, it was probably longer than I think, but you know, but it took him like 8 years of school. It was crazy, you know. But I mean, now he charges like, you know, $300 an hour, or some crazy thing. I'm just like, dude. You know, I mean, but he's, you know, it's funny. I don't know why I didn't think of it when I first started saying all this. He is an investor.
Oh yeah.
He's rolling all that lawyer money, and
Into
he's
investing.
buying
Well,
houses, and he's got like 20 houses in the Midwest, and
Oh man, he's set then, man.
so I have your son's mentor ready to lined up when he's ready.
I'll send him your way one day.
And I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a coke habit. So
No. Good. That's good.
So. Right on. So you're trying to do more mobile homes. Mm-hmm. Did you say you wanted to flip more? Or?
Yeah, and ideally I'd like to do stick-built homes, but again, my focus is on mobile homes. That's what I want to do right now.
Okay.
Ideally, down the line, yeah, I'll go back to stick-built homes.
Okay. As far as mobile homes, like what's the part that excites you? Is it the selling the note, or like the actual because you're still flipping it essentially?
Yeah. I
it's not as intense.
think for me right now it's more the price range. I think for me more it's the price range. But yeah, it's I want to put to work my newly acquired skills of being able to create and sell the notes and you know, and that kind of aspect. So I still have that itch that I want to scratch, and I haven't quite gotten it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So like what you said price points, is that because it's less money like on the table, or just like talk to me about that a little bit. Like, what scares you about the higher or the or like, I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a little bit to it, you know, as far as what I would be able to purchase a fixed or a mobile home versus how much, you know, a stick-built home in my area or really here in California. Major difference, you know. I think I'm a little bit more prepared with, like, even if I can't get the funding to purchase the house, like I'd be able to put the money up front if I needed to. So there's a little bit more accessibility, you know. Not to say I wouldn't try to do it with a stick-built home, but for me right now, as I'm building myself up, I think it's there's a little bit more accessibility for me if I needed to.
Gotcha. How much money do you think you're putting like out on each mobile home deal?
What, like, as far as offers or
No, I mean like you know, let's say, is it to purchase and rehab and then like to take a mobile home from buying it to getting rid of it? however you end up, whatever your exit strategy is, how much money you have like tied up in each deal. You think?
Well, I'll tell you right now, I've been talking with a gentleman and I'm still following up. This guy, he has to move out. The home is his home. He's not losing the home. The home is paid off, but the park, he can't continue to live in the park. Mm-hmm. And so he had until the end of, I think it was the end of June to move out, but he had until the end of August to sell. Right. So I went in, looked at his home. It needs a lot of work. The ceiling is caving in. The roof clearly has a leak. Nothing has been done to this home in years. I mean, this dude was probably like a bit of a hoarder. I mean, you couldn't get to the window without jumping over a pile of magazines or something. It was just pretty bad. And so home like that, I mean, you figure if you were to sell it cash, you'd probably only be able to sell it for $80,000, give or take. Mm-hmm. But I mean, in repairs, roof and everything included, you're probably spending a good, 30, 40 grand fixing it up, bringing it up. Thankfully, like the plumbing and everything I could see didn't look like there were any major issues. Just that roof was a major thing, Again, another point where I would be able to do some of the work, even if I couldn't, I'd wholesale it. Mm-hmm. I wanted to making an offer to the gentleman, and I should back up a little bit. This is one that I went and looked at with Elle as well. So mm-hmm. she's a part of this, and so we made an offer for like 10 grand, and we figured like all in we'd probably end up be 40, maybe 50 grand into this thing, mm-hmm. And we'd be able to sell it maybe 80, like I said, maybe 80 grand. Be able to create the note, be able to help the guy out, probably get a little bit more out of it, creating a note when we sell, mm-hmm. things like that. So it just. For me, it felt a little bit more accessible. Even if we had to wholesale the thing, there was something in it for for us there.
Gotcha. So that's you total, or
like
there's like or us total. Okay. I'm just curious, because I just get curious because with the mobile homes, mm-hmm. like you're all in and nobody's financing you. Like you're not getting a hard money loan. Yeah. You're putting 40,000 euro money between the two of you into it, and when you look at the dollar amounts for like, let's say like the last flip that we did in Apple Valley, mm-hmm. For example, like we bought it for 105, I believe. We put 10 in of our own 10. We mm-hmm. put 10% down. Mm-hmm. So 90-10. We got a hard money loan, we put 10% down. And then we financed the rehab, which ended up being like 65,000, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. I think it was like 67 and some change. And, so all out, we had 77,000 out. We made about like, I think we made about like 90 by the time it was all said and done. We sold it for 290. Yeah. And realistically, we had a little bit more out than 40 or 50, but not much, not much. Right. And, granted, there was more moving parts with borrowing the money and, mm-hmm. and, and I really wanted to sell that thing on a note, and do it that way. But, that's just not our business model. Unfortunately, we just didn't set the companies up to do that. There's ways to do it, I guess, that where you don't have,
Yeah, and now to your point, there it is possible out there with stick-built homes to find those properties that are, I guess, at that price point that you're looking for. I'll take my Yucca Valley flip as an example. Mm-hmm. I wound up buying that thing for, I think it was like 200 at this point. The numbers escape me. Bought it for 200. I got it on a hard money loan. So I think I needed. I requested. I think like I was anticipating maybe like 30 grand in repairs. Mm-hmm. I wound up only spending like 12 or 15 grand fixing that place up. But cash out of my pocket on that one, I think it was like 60 or 70 grand or something like that. So it was manageable. Something that I was still able to come in. I sold it for 280. And that one, for anyone that hasn't heard the story yet, my initial ARV was a little bit higher. But that's when the interest rates first shot up. Mm-hmm. They went from 2-3% up to, I think it was 7 or 8, or I don't remember what it was. And so the activity went from getting multiple offers to just crickets.
Yeah.
But that as far as the financing aspect of it, yeah, it was manageable, it was doable, and deals like that, yeah, I can do. But finding them, for me at least, finding them has been a challenge.
Yeah, I got you.
So I still keep my fingers on the pulse, but I focus on the mobile homes.
Yeah, yeah, and it's it also, what you gotta be careful what you do. I don't mean you personally specifically. I just mean anybody.
Right.
As you can get kind of directed into a path that you don't necessarily like. Like with trailers. Like if I'm glad if you don't like it, I'm glad you're saying, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'd be very easy to just keep going down that
Right.
rabbit hole because it happened to us for a little while. Like we were flipping quite a bit of single family, and then it got a little bit harder there for a little while to find deals, and so we pivoted to mobile homes, and then like within 2.5 years, we'd done like 30 of them or 40 of them or something like that, and I don't even know, and then just because they keep falling in your lap, you do that, you do one, the neighbor sells you the other one, then you do that one, and the neighbor, so it's and then boom, you're stuck in this like.
Yeah, you don't really focus on what you set out to do.
Yeah,
because you've got some of the other things coming your way. Yeah,
and then all of a sudden we're not hitting numbers because we stopped flipping. Essentially, we'd sell the notes, hypothecate the notes. And now we're looking at making money 5 years down the line, and we're sitting here going, "Oh crap, we gotta either like sell everything else or to sell." So yeah, if you like mobile homes, like and they're coming to you, stick with it.
So yeah, right now I'm comfortable. We're just still looking for the deal, right? So if you guys have one, go ahead and send it my way.
Yeah, for sure. But what is there a certain area you're liking the most?
Well, I mean, I try to stick to the Inland Empire, right? For me, really, it's anywhere between Fontana and Riverside-ish kind of parameter. But depending on the deal, be able to drive out a little bit further. I mean, like Hemet might be just a little bit too far for me, but if the numbers are right, I mean, I'll consider it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of parks out there.
Yeah.
They're big parks.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. Like you think that like, with how many people Andy's taught this and how long the club's been around and people have been doing mobile homes. And, I feel like, we do like 30 or 40 of them. Like how many more are out there, and it's just like, it's crazy. I mean, they're all over. I mean, they're all over. It's not just but even in SoCal, I mean, we'll be driving around and there'll be some new park. There's one right here in Riverside.
Oh yeah.
We were driving around. I was like, oh yeah, and we took like a peek over, and you could see some of these like trailers hanging over the fence, or like that you could see. You're like, oh yeah, like could probably do some work in there, and then there's, just elsewhere too, where there's whole parks that you're just looking and you're just like, oh god, like they need help.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I've seen one or two where I'm like,
yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, let's like on the financial independence through real estate. So, Rafa, like, what is let's say 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're financially independent. You don't have to worry about, like your bills are paid, like what does a day in the life look like? Like what's your perfect like financially free kind of day look like?
Financially free without having to worry about knocking on doors to collect the checks because they're coming in the mail kind of thing. All right. Oh man, well I'm a boring guy, man. I really am.
That's all right. It's a personal journey.
Recently, my newly found hobby has been fishing. I've really enjoyed fishing.
All right.
So I'd like to spend more time fishing. I enjoy hiking and getting out there, walking. For some reason, I walk a lot.
Good.
So I hit the mountain. But
do you like fish?
I do.
You like to eat them?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, I mean, don't assume, because there was this my old barber up in Crestline. He dude was like a stellar sports fisherman.
Oh wow!
Like things on his wall, and I mean, just pictures of him like with giant fish just everywhere. Like this crazy sports fisherman. Dude hated fish. He never ate anything he caught. He didn't like the smell of fish. He didn't like the taste of fish. I was like,
well, but he enjoyed the sport.
But he loved fishing. So
I will say the little caviar. I don't like tilapia that much,
nobody does,
but
unless it's fried into a fish stick.
right.
Yeah, tilapia doesn't really taste like a whole lot unless you put a lot of tartar sauce on it.
Yeah,
But fishing, really, I didn't know
fishing.
that. So like, what, like fly or what? Like what kind of fishing?
Oh, the boring kind, the one you go to the lake, you just cast off and just wait for the bell to ring and.
So are you super into it or?
Yeah, well, again, I'm new to it. I've been learning still, right? I mean, what kind of pole and what kind of line I should have, and types of bait for the types of fish, and things like that. Heck, I caught my first fish a couple of weeks ago. It was a catfish, but it was like maybe this big.
Hey, that's a win. That's a win.
It was a throwback, but hey, I mean,
what's something you learned about fishing that you would have probably unless you picked it up, you would never really you'd really never know or.
Well, I mean, I really never would have known, some fish, they stay deep in the water. They'll find the shade, the colder water, and usually some fish will gravitate towards the colder. I never really knew that. I was like, fish are just in the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you got to be smart about where the fish could possibly be at this time of day because of the temperature of the water or the depth or whatever.
Interesting.
It's all right, well.
Does that change the different lures and weights and stuff that you have or?
I'm still learning all that stuff, but
I had no idea. It was just a guess. I haven't really fished, but if you're saying if you're trying to catch catfish, I would imagine you're not throwing something out there that's sitting at the top of the water.
Yeah. Go a little bit lower and something stinky. So I guess catfish are really attracted to the stinky stuff. So
they are the garbage, the bottom feeders.
So I learned catfish. Good bait for catfish is you take hot dogs. And just drown them in Kool-Aid, cherry Kool-Aid for some reason, and garlic if you can. And just
really?
Make it really stinky. Garlic, you get that little red stinky piece of hot dog in there.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Me and catfish have things in common. I love hot dogs and garlic.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Maybe not together, dunked in Kool-Aid, but...
That sounds like barbecue to me. I don't know.
I know. Hey, don't knock it till you try it.
Right
on. Oh, we'll have to go fishing sometimes, man. There's good fishing up in Crestline.
Well, actually, I was just there.
Oh, yeah?
The first time, buddy took me there about a month ago.
Is that where you caught the catfish?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Baby catfish, yeah.
Cool. By Lake Gregory? Or?
Yeah, Lake Gregory.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Yeah, I haven't actually fished up there. I keep talking about doing it, but I haven't really fished, honestly. I stuck a pole in the water when I was a kid with my dad, but other than that, we went on this road trip, and this guy was, we happened to pick a camp spot that had we were in a very wooded area, and there was a pretty good moving river, going along the campground, not just a creek, but the actual river. And I guess I didn't really think about it at the time, but there wasn't really a whole lot of areas to walk down, to the water. Yeah. And we just happened to pick the campground that had this little tiny little path that, some guy gave us wood, and, he's got a bunch of fly fishing gear out. And I happened to mention, he's like, oh, you mind if I go drop a line in? And I was like, sure, dude.
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead. He didn't catch anything, but I was like, hey, you catch something? I'm like, we already got the fire going. I was ready. There was some apparently there was some really good trout.
Yeah,
but
no, I've yet to really catch anything big, I guess you could say. I've taken my kids to the little guppy ponds. There's the Santa Ana River Lakes out in Anaheim. Mm-hmm. And so, it's the cheater fishing. You get a line with any kind of bait, really, and those fish are starving. And you get a freaking 8-pounder on that thing. And
dang, is it still a throwback?
No, the thing. I mean, to go in and fish, it's $3-5 to go in and fish, but they charge you by the pound, and it's I remember we caught 3 fish, it's $100, and
wow,
yeah,
damn,
yeah,
that's more than I was expecting.
Right?
Well, hey, I guess. Yeah, somebody's got to eat. Yeah, food and fish.
Yeah. But so my kids like doing that, but when I take them to the lake, oh, Dad, when are we leaving? All right, this is a dad thing. I get it.
Yeah. That trying to get a kid that's, even back when we were kids. It's not even as bad as it is now. But they just have so much going on all the time just to sit still for. An hour just to stick a thing in the ground. Because they could fish on a video game and be fun. Yeah. Like in Zelda or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's something attacking them or like something, they get some kind of reward, some flashy reward.
It trips me out, man.
But in real life, they don't get that.
Right now, you mentioned that, like my son, he plays Minecraft and he plays those. Well, my daughter does too, and they go into the game and they're mining and they're just like digging, like just poking rocks for hours at a time. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, well, I'm mining. I'm trying to get this mineral and that, and like. Yeah.
But if you gave him a shovel and said, start digging in the backyard, he'd look at you.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, dude, seriously, you find this fun? Like, yeah. Like, all right.
You just got to go bury some stuff in the yard. Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, man.
That's funny, though. All right, well, hey, man, let's go fishing sometime.
Let's make it happen. I hear Lake Gregory has some.
Yeah, I'll actually, like, the next time they restock it, I'll keep a better eye out. Because I know they restock at certain times a year, and then it's really good for like a few weeks. And then it gets overfished, and then there's nothing left, But
I think the next date is either this Thursday or next Thursday. I'm just saying.
Oh, really?
I'm just saying.
I'll have to look. Yeah, sure. Well, maybe let this heat wave go.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it was hotter up. It was hotter up there the other day. What's today? Wednesday? Yeah, it was Monday. Monday, it was hotter up in Crestline than it was in Corona.
Really?
And it was like 97 in Crestline. It was like 88 in Corona. I was like, this is ridiculous.
I would not expect that. It's usually 10 degrees colder up there.
I know. And we don't have air conditioners up there. So, except the RV has one. But, we just spent 2 weeks in that one. So,
yeah.
But anyways, Rafa, how do people get a hold of you if they want to do a deal with you or, have some questions or want to go fishing?
All right. Well, if you want to get in touch with me, best way to do it would be through email. You could. It's the letters mr.rafasalazar@gmail.com. So like Mr. Rafa Salazar at gmail.com. That would probably be the best way to get in touch with me.
Right on. Sounds good. So yeah, if you want to do some mobile home deals or go fishing or you have questions or you want to partner with him, Mr. Rafa Salazar at gmail.com.
That's the one.
Perfect, man. Well, it's been great having you on the show again.
Well, thank you.
And appreciate the time. This has been the FIREchat podcast. I'm your host, Rich Rice. We'll be back next week with the new episodes. And if you're interested in checking more about the club, you can go to IEREIC.org. Again, that's IEREIC.org. And we're going to do weekly events now 3 times a week. So come check it out. We're in Riverside. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Beautiful. Stay cool and stay safe, people.
Thanks, Rafa.